Chapter 791. Gu Master, since Brother Chen knows the Supreme Pill record, he must have met the Old Master. We just want to know where the Old Master is now. Su Chongsheng explained. Now I am your valley owner, I now order you to kill this guy. Yaoshengu Valley Master stared and ordered loudly. After Su Chongsheng listened, a look of embarrassment appeared on his face, and the other elders did not do anything. Seeing that several elders didn't do anything, the Yaoshengu Valley Master suddenly became furious. UBA5TARDS, I have raised you for 30 years and gave you life-enhancing pills, but you didn't obey my orders for that old thing, and I will kill you all. The Yaoshengu Valley Master was furious, his clothes suddenly had no wind, and the whole room began to shake. Get out and talk about it. Seeing that the house was about to collapse, David hurried out. Seeing this, Su Chongsheng and other hurried elders also ran out in a hurry. Rumbling. Just as David and the others ran out, the house collapsed directly, and the Master of Medicine God Valley was suspended in mid-air. Elder Su, I'll give you another chance to kill this David, this is an order. The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley looked down at Su Chongsheng, and ordered with cold eyes. Elder Su, if you believe me, just stand by and watch, your current valley owner is an evil cultivator, and the longevity pill is made from the heart of a baby. It was passed on to me, and now no one knows about the entire contents of the Supreme Pill record except me, and when I destroy this evil cultivator, I will naturally explain it to you. David said to Su Chongsheng with a serious face. Su Chongsheng was very embarrassed. He didn't know whether he should believe David, but David could tell the purpose put forward by the old valley owner, and he could tell the Supreme Pill, which was not like lying at all. The owner of the valley in front of him has been together for 30 years, and has not found anything wrong, and from time to time he will give them longevity pills. Boy, you said you know the entire contents of the Supreme Pill record, then tell me what is the most proud pill that our old Valley Master has devoted himself to developing. At this time, the third elder asked David. Soul Gathering and Forming Pill. David blurted out, this kind of medicinal pill can bring back the dead and concentrate on the soul, even if the body rots, as long as the soul still exists, you can rely on the medicinal pill to gather the soul to train and regenerate a fleshy body. David's words made several elders stunned for a moment, because David was right at all, and he explained it clearly. You must know that this soul-gathering forming pill was developed by the old valley owner in his life. Apart from the old valley owner, only a few elders of them have heard the old valley owner mention it, but the refining method, the old valley owner has never told anyone. People mentioned. This time, Su Chongsheng and several elders had to believe it. David must have seen the old valley owner, otherwise he would not know about it. Humph, you traitors, the rules in Medicine God Valley, those who don't obey the Valley Master's orders, kill. The Master of Medicine God Valley saw that several elders followed David to ask questions, but they didn't do anything, and suddenly became furious. After he finished speaking, he drew a spell in mid-air with both hands, followed by the chomping method. Immediately, the entire Yaoshan Valley began to rise with fog. At first, there was very little, but when it reached the back, it covered the entire Yaoshan Valley. You must know that this is noon. During this time, it is impossible for mist to rise in Yaoshan Valley. It is obviously the work of the owner of Yaoshan Valley. The thick fog quickly covered the entire valley, making it impossible to see anything. Soon, these mists began to rise upwards, and then a cloud formed in mid-air. Under the sunlight, the cloud was colorful and beautiful. Chapter 792. Many people in the valley ran out one after another, looking up at this colorful cloud that suddenly appeared in the sky, and some children shouted and laughed. Several elders of Su Chongsheng looked at everything in front of them in shock, and their mouths could not close in surprise. Although they have all reached the realm of Wuzong, they are still very shocked by such a technique that gathers the power of heaven and earth and turns hands into clouds and rains. After all, they don't know anything about formations. The master of Medicine God Valley was suspended in mid-air, and against the backdrop of colorful clouds, he looked like a deity descended to the earth. Boy, hand over the Sheneng Cauldron and the Supreme Pill Record, I may be able to spare you one. The master of Medicine God Valley looked at David coldly and said. Shen Nong Ding. Su Chongsheng and several elders were startled again, and then all looked at David. Brother Chen, is your little copper cauldron a Sheneng cauldron? Su Chongsheng asked in disbelief. David nodded, it's Sheneng Ding, it seems that your valley owner has long been thinking about my Sheneng Ding. Su Chongsheng didn't say anything. The words of the Yaoshengu Valley Master just now were very obvious. This is to tear his face and plan to snatch it. If you have the ability, then take it yourself. David slowly raised his head, looked at the Valley Master of the Medicine God Valley and said. Boy, I have been in Medicine God Valley for 30 years, and I have set up this magic circle, which can communicate with the power of heaven and earth and condense the energy of Yin Shat. Even these elders can't withstand a single blow. Do you still want to resist? Yaoshengu Valley Master said gloomily. Your magic circle is good, but unfortunately it is useless to me. David shook his head. It seems that you won't give up until you reach the Yellow River, Yaoshengu Valley Master said, and suddenly urged the law, and then the colorful clouds in the sky began to churn, and then turned into a huge vortex, like a tornado, pressed towards David. When Su Chongsheng and several elders saw this, their expressions changed greatly. Even if they were in the realm of martial sect, they could feel the pressure of this tornado. At this time, David also felt that his body was pressed down by a big mountain, but David's eyes did not have the slightest fear. Su Chongsheng glanced at David strangely, not understanding why David had this expression. They didn't know that in David's eyes, this tornado was a rare cultivation resource. If it was a real tornado, David would have nothing to do, but these are just the yin and evil spirits condensed by the formation, and David's condensing heart can completely absorb these evil spirits. Brother Chen, I will help you stop this attack, but I hope you didn't lie to me. Su Chongsheng said. He waved his hands suddenly, and a breath condensed into a barrier in front of him. Elder Su, hurry up and step back. When David saw that Su Chongsheng wanted to help him block the tornado, how could David agree? A stride forward, David rushed in front of Su Chongsheng, and pushed Su Chongsheng back. This made Su Chongsheng bewildered. David's strength, Su Chongsheng has seen, although he can match those of Wuzong who have just been promoted, but there is still a certain gap with him. Now David actually pushed himself behind and resisted the blow himself. Could it be suicide? But Su Chongsheng did not believe that David would commit suicide. Seeing this scene, the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley in midair said with cold eyes, Boy, you are too crazy. Rumbling. The tornado formed by the evil spirit roared towards David, a deep ravine was blown out on the ground, and the rocks flew horizontally. Those people in Yaoshengu watched this scene, and their expressions changed greatly. After all, Yaoshengu had never experienced such bad weather for so many years. Chapter 793. Soon, the surrounding houses began to collapse, and some people were even blown into the air. Those people in Yaoshin Valley fled desperately and screamed, but the owner of Yaoshin Valley didn't even mean to stop, and looked at the Yaoshin Valley. Those ordinary people who were torn apart by the tornado and indifferent. Seeing this, Su Chongsheng and several other elders desperately built a barrier to resist the power of the evil spirit tornado, so that the evil spirit tornado would not cause more damage to Yaoshin Valley. David slowly raised his head and looked at the evil tornado in front of him. He was like a tiny ant, but David was not afraid at all, and his whole body slowly radiated golden light. Tall, walked straight into the evil spirit tornado. Seeing David's suicidal action, Su Chongsheng was stunned for a moment. He couldn't understand, is David seeking death? In the face of such a suffocating tornado, Su Chongsheng didn't dare to resist, but David actually took the initiative to meet him. The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley sneered, "Ha ha ha, boy, there is a way to heaven, you don't want to go, but now you are taking the initiative to die." The Valley Master of Yaishin Valley laughed wildly, "No one could survive in this evil tornado, not even a martial master." Gravels flew all over the sky, and there were deep ravines on the ground. David was standing in the center of the evil tornado at this moment. People outside couldn't see David's appearance clearly, but they knew that David should have been torn apart by this evil tornado long ago. The heart condensation art was running fast. David opened his mouth slowly, and a strong suffocating chi was sucked into David's stomach. The suffocating tornado became smaller and smaller, and its power became smaller and smaller, and finally came to a close. When the smoke and dust fell, David's dusty body was slowly revealed. The evil spirit condensed by the Yaishengu Valley Master's use of the formation, but at this moment, David's strength has increased a lot. In David's Danshan, spiritual power is abundant, and the whole person is full of power. How can it be? Su Chongsheng and several other elders were immediately stunned. The power of the suffocating tornado was resisted by their elders with all their strength, but David entered the tornado and still survived? How is this possible? David's strength is far less than any of them. How did David do it? This is beyond their cognition and subverts their imagination. The Yaishengu Valley Master is also a mad face. This terrifying suffocating tornado is powerful, and even Su Chongsheng and the other martial sects dare not resist it, but David, a guy who only has the strength of a great master, even ran into the suffocating tornado, but he didn't do anything at all. Hurt? How is this possible? Yaishengu Valley Master wants to break his head and can't understand why this is. You, how did you do it? The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley couldn't help asking in horror. Evil cultivators are evil cultivators after all. The exercises that you think can quickly improve your strength are actually your biggest drawbacks. Just think that this magic array seems to be huge and powerful, but it's just a trick to bluff people. Not worth mentioning in my eyes. David snorted coldly. Isn't it worth mentioning? Yaishengu Valley Master's eyes narrowed, and two flames suddenly shot out of his eyes. Clouds of black gas emanated from the body of the Yaishengu Valley Master, and after encountering the flames, these black energy, like gasoline, it burned quickly. The entire body of the Yaishengu Valley Master was almost surrounded by flames, and the whole person was like a burning man. Fire baby technique. The Master of Medicine God Valley let out a loud shout, and then suddenly burst out fireballs one by one from the flames around him. Chapter 794. Looking closely, these fireballs were showing their teeth and claws, and they turned out to be the heads of babies, and they even made the sound of babies crying. In an instant, dozens of fireballs attacked David, and the cries were so loud that it sounded very infiltrating. Now you should believe it. If it weren't for evil cultivation, how could such a technique be used? The longevity-enhancing pills you have eaten are all made from the hearts of live babies. Come back. David looked back at Su Chongsheng and his elders, and said lightly. Su Chongsheng and several elders' faces became very ugly. They never thought that the so-called longevity pill they ate was actually made from the heart of a baby. Thinking of this, some people began to vomit. If they knew this, they would rather not increase their lifespan, and would never eat this kind of maddening elixir. Brothers, I didn't expect that in the past 30 years, we have been practicing medicine and treating diseases. We pride ourselves on being upright people, but we don't want to commit such sins. We are afraid that the century-old reputation of Medicine God Valley will be ruined. Today, we are desperate to die. I want to kill the person who ruined my reputation in Medicine God Valley. Su Chongsheng said to several elders. After speaking, Su Changshen's body aura skyrocketed, and then he jumped up, punching out a burst of energy, directly blowing up a fireball. When the other elders saw this, they also jumped up and threw their fists towards the fireballs. David also took out his own dragon-slaying sword, and the flames on the dragon-slaying sword were burning, much more vigorous than those fireballs. A few sword chi swung out, and several fireballs were exploded in an instant. Facing the attack from David and several elders, the Yaoshengu Valley Master frowned slightly. Without the Guardian formation, the Yaoshengu Valley Master could not be the opponent of David and these elders. At this moment, seeing several people attacking together, the Yaoshengu Valley Master gritted his teeth, and the flames all over his body instantly turned into countless fire rains, and they rushed towards several people. Shoot away! At the same time, Yaoshengu Valley Master's figure quickly retreated, intending to escape from Yaoshengu Valley. Want to escape? How can it be so easy? David jumped, and the dragon-slaying sword in his hand swung forward abruptly. The flame on the dragon-slaying sword was like a flamethrower, and it was directly sprayed out, shooting dozens of meters away. The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley felt the strong wind blowing behind him, and hurriedly rolled forward. Although he avoided the blow, a big hole was still burned in his clothes, and he looked very embarrassed. At this moment, Su Chongsheng and the hurried elders had already caught up and surrounded the Master of Medicine God Valley. David stepped forward and pointed at the Master of Medicine God Valley with the dragon-slaying sword, his eyes full of murderous intent. Elder Su, we have worked together for 30 years, and I have made a lot of medicinal pills for you. Are you treating me like this? The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley looked at Su Chongsheng and asked unwillingly. Shut up! Su Changshen's face was full of anger. You evil cultivator, borrowing the reputation of my Medicine God Valley, you are actually doing things that hurt the world outside, and you even use a baby's heart to make alchemy. You can do this kind of thing, let you being the Valley Master of Medicine God is the biggest mistake I have done in my life, and today I will use your blood to pay homage to those undead. Several other elders also glared at the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley. They never imagined that the Valley Master who was admired by several people turned out to be an evil cultivator who used the heart of a baby to make alchemy. After so many years, I don't know how many babies have indirectly died at their hands. Seeing this, the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley gritted his teeth fiercely, and suddenly a black fog appeared between his hands, and the black fog quickly condensed into a ball. Since you want me to die, then we shall perish together. The Master of Medicine God Valley roared. The ball in his hand was getting bigger and bigger, and there was a green light emitting from the ball. Chapter 795. What is this? Su Chongsheng looked at the scene in front of him and asked in a little panic. Seeing this, David suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the ball condensed by the black mist in the hands of the Yaoshengu Valley Master. When David's hand touched the ball, he instantly felt a huge power emanating from the ball. The Master of the Medicine Valley compresses the suffocating energy and reaches a certain critical point. Earth-shattering change. Don't talk about them at that time, I am afraid that the entire Yaoshan Valley will suffer. With the heart concentration technique running, David's palm instantly turned into a vacuum cleaner, and he began to suck the evil energy that was constantly condensing in the ball into his body. The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley was startled, his eyes filled with incredulity. You, how can you absorb the star Dafa? The voice of the Yaoshengu Valley Master was trembling. David didn't speak, but quickly absorbed the evil spirit from Yaoshengu Valley Master's body. Several elders were shocked when they saw this scene. Although Su Chongsheng had suspected that David would be able to absorb the stars, this time he saw it with his own eyes. Star-sucking Dafa, but the most evil cultivation method, and now David can actually absorb the stars, doesn't that prove that David is also an evil cultivator? Just when the elders were shocked, Yaoshengu Valley Master felt that the power in his body was rapidly draining, and his frightened body hurriedly retreated, trying to get rid of David. Get him under control! David shouted anxiously. Su Chongsheng and several elders were stunned for a moment, and they didn't take action immediately. They are now beginning to doubt David's identity. Hurry up, don't let him run away, David loudly shouted again. Su Chongsheng gritted his teeth, stretched out his hand and pressed it on the shoulder of the Yaoshengu Valley Master, and controlled the Yaoshengu Valley Master who wanted to escape. Several other elders saw that Su Chong was active, and they also followed suit to control the Master of Medicine God Valley. The Valley Master of Medicine God Valley struggled and roared loudly, "You traitors, I am the Valley Master, and I am the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley." Gradually, the Valley Master of the Medicine God Valley became extremely ferocious, his body was shrinking, and his strength to struggle was getting lower and lower. After more than 10 minutes, the body of the Yaoshengu Valley Master had nearly doubled in size, only a skeleton remained, his eyes were wide open, and there was no life left. David only let go at this time, and several elders also let go at the same time. With a thud, the Medicine God Valley Master's body fell down, and then a green pill rolled out from the Medicine God Valley Master's body. The pills exuded bursts of fragrance, and the green color was very beautiful. "What is this?" David picked up the medicine pill. "Huishan pill, this is Huishan pill." Su Chongsheng saw the pill and said, "Brother Chen, if your friend took this Huishan pill, there will be no problem." David looked at it carefully, and from the Huishan pill, bursts of life's breath continued to radiate, which surprised David. This time, the Tian Dan is so amazing that there is a breath of life exuding, just like a new life born. David injected a ray of divine consciousness back into the Tian Dan, and he wanted to know what the Tian Dan was made of this time. It's a pity that when David's consciousness entered Huishan pill, he could only feel a piece of green oil, like the prairie in the early morning. The breath of life was very strong, and it was impossible to find out what Tian pill was made of this time. Closing his eyes slightly, the Supreme Pill record flashed into David's mind, but unfortunately there is no record of this Tian Dan on the Supreme Pill record. David is right when he thinks about it. This Supreme Pill record is only written by the old valley owner of Yaoshengu with his lifelong efforts. How could there be any pills? If so, wouldn't the old valley owner become the king of pills? Chapter 796. David took the Huishan pill and planned to give it to Xiaolan, but just as he was walking, he was stopped by other hurried elders. "Who the H3LL are you? Why do you attract stars? You are also an evil cultivator who harms others." The second elder asked David with a vigilant look on his face. At this time, Su Chongsheng also asked curiously, "Brother Chen, how can you attract Dafa? You don't look like an evil cultivator." Looking at the vigilant eyes of several elders, David smiled helplessly, "I'm not a star-sucking Dafa, but I have practiced the exercises and can absorb the energy of others. Yin Qi, even poisonous Qi, can be absorbed and refined by my exercises, so just now you will see me breaking into the evil spirit tornado, and you will be safe and sound." After hearing David's explanation, Su Chongsheng and several elders were stunned. They never thought that there is such a practice in the world. This is simply incredible. "Brother Chen, you didn't lie to us, did you? How could there be such a practice in the world? What's the name of your practice?" Su Chongsheng asked in surprise. Concentrating on the heart, David didn't hide it. "Heart condensation technique." Su Chongsheng and several other elders frowned slightly, as if they had never heard of such a practice. After thinking for a moment, Su Chongsheng said, "Brother Chen, I believe in you. If you were an evil cultivator, you wouldn't have destroyed that longevity pill just now." When it comes to Zheng Xiaodan, the expressions of several elders changed, and they bowed their heads in shame. They ate all the medicine pills made with the heart of a baby, and this kind of evil will always trouble them, so it will be more difficult for a few people to practice in the future. David glanced at a few elders, and said slowly, "To live by evil, you can only atone for your sins through your own efforts. I hope you can treat more people in the future and alleviate your own evil." After David finished speaking, he walked towards the sect of medicine, preparing to give Xiaolan the Huishan pill to eat. After listening to David's words, Su Chongsheng nodded slightly, "Yes, since we already have evil obstacles, we must work hard to atone for our sins." After today, I plan to go out of the valley, and I will never come back without saving 10,000 people." After listening to the other elders, they all said that they would also go out of the valley to rescue ordinary people who were suffering. The elders of Medicine God Valley, like them, are usually pampered and well placed. They only develop medicinal pills in the valley. They rarely go out to save people. Even if someone in the outside world asks for Medicine God Valley, it is only other medicine masters from Medicine God Valley. Won't start. Now everyone has evil obstacles on their bodies, so they plan to go out of the valley and forgive their sins with practical actions. Su Chongsheng and several elders caught up with David, and then Su Chongsheng asked David, "Brother Chen, I don't know if you can tell me, how did you meet our old valley owner? How did the Lord pass it on to you?" David told Su Chongsheng and several elders what happened, without any reservations. When he heard that the old valley owner had already sat down and was in the valley, the expressions of the elders instantly became sad. Su Chongsheng hurriedly sent someone to find Yudong and asked what happened, to see if what David said was true. Yudong was so frightened that he was in a cold sweat when he saw Su Chongsheng inquiring about the deep valley. Seeing Yudong's nervous appearance, Su Chongsheng explained it. Yudong dared to open his mouth, and told what happened, and followed David to say it was not bad. Su Chongsheng and the other elders were convinced that the owner of the valley passed the position of the owner of the Medicine God Valley to David, and let David carry forward the Medicine God Valley. Chapter 797. Suddenly, Su Chongsheng and several elders knelt down towards David, and they all said in unison, "Welcome to Master Chen Gu." David was startled, and several elders helped Su Chongsheng up. He didn't want to be a valley owner, and he didn't have time to stay in Medicine God Valley. On the other hand, Yudong was dumbfounded and didn't understand what happened. How could David become the valley master of Medicine God Valley in just a few days? "Chen," Su Chongsheng opened his mouth and was about to call Brother Chen when he suddenly realized that something was wrong, so he hurriedly changed his words, "Gu Master, since the old Gu Master passed the Supreme Pill record to you, let you carry forward the Medicine God Valley. That is to pass on the position of Valley Master to you, and you will be the Valley Master of our Yaishin Valley in the future. Regardless of your strength and courage, you are capable of being the Valley Master." "Elder Su, I can't be the owner of this valley. I still have my own affairs to deal with. There's no way I can stay in Medicine God Valley." David shied away helplessly. "Valley Master, since it is the last wish of the old Valley Master, we must obey. You are the Valley Master, and you don't have to stay in Medicine God Valley. There are no regulations in Medicine God Valley, and the Valley Master must stay in the valley." Su Chongsheng knew that David had other things, and it was unrealistic for him to stay in Yaishin Valley, so he said, "As long as David sits as the owner of the valley, it doesn't matter if he stays in Yaishin Valley or not. Because now, only David knows the content of the Supreme Pill record, and this Supreme Pill record is the biggest reliance of Yaishin Valley." Seeing the sincerity of Su Chongsheng and the other elders, David could only sigh and say, "Okay, I'll be the owner of the valley, but everything in the valley requires Elder Su and the elders to worry about it. I'm not here." At that time, Elder Su, as the great elder, can decide everything. As ordered, Su Chongsheng and several other elders knelt down to receive the order. Yudong on the side was dumbfounded, but seeing that the elders were all kneeling, he also knelt down. After David helped the elders up, he returned to the sect of medicine and fed Xiaolan the Huishan pill. Huishundan had just eaten, and Xiaolan's face began to turn ruddy, and the whole person had a breath of life, and this breath was getting stronger and stronger. But after waiting for a while, David found that Xiaolan had not woken up, and couldn't help but get anxious. "Gu Master, although the Tiandan is a divine pill this time, it will take 7 to 79 hours for your friend to wake up, and it will take some time to rest." Su Chongsheng followed David to explain. As soon as David heard it, he knew that Xiaolan would be left in Yaishin Valley to recuperate. He had no time to wait. It would be July 15th in a few days. David was going to go to Wuming Island now. David didn't know what happened, but it was a blessing or a curse. David didn't care anymore, all he cared about was his own life experience. He wants to know who he is, whether his parents are still alive, and what exactly is the Long family. Elder Su, I have something important to do. I have to leave the Medicine God Valley. My friends will take care of you. I will now copy the contents of the Supreme Pill record. In addition, I will leave the Sheneng Ding. You can refine it more. Some medicinal herbs benefit the people of one party and relieve the evil obstacles on oneself. David said to Su Chongsheng. Hearing that David was going to transcribe the Supreme Pill Lu and leave the Sheneng Ding behind, Su Chongsheng and several elders were all shocked. Which of these two things is not priceless? Even when the old valley owner was there, the Supreme Pill record only let a few of them read apart, and not all of them were taken out, but now David has let them all learn the Supreme Pill record, and even the ancient artifact. With Sheneng Ding left behind, this kind of measure and daring, I am afraid that few people can achieve. Chapter 798. At this moment, Su Chongsheng and several elders were full of admiration for David. Although David was young, this measure was indeed unmatched. The reason why David left these things is that he didn't know whether it was a blessing or a curse for him to go to the Nameless Island this time. If he had an accident, wouldn't this thing that originally belonged to Ye Shengu be lost? David ordered someone to find a pen and paper. According to the records in his head, he copied the Supreme Pill record, and took out the Sheneng Ding to replace the bronze tripod that was as high as one person in the middle of the medicine sect. Looking at the Supreme Pill Lu and Sheneng Ding, Su Chongsheng and several elders were excited like children. These things were simply too important to them. They put all their energy into alchemy, and with these two things, they believe that they can make more advanced elixirs. After doing all this, just when David was about to leave, a guard from Medicine God Valley suddenly ran outside the Medicine God sect in a hurry and reported loudly, "Report to Elder Su, at the mouth of our Medicine God Valley." Many people suddenly appeared, and they shouted, "Come on, let's hand over people. Hand over the person." Su Chongsheng frowned, not knowing who to hand over. And David reacted at this time. It should be that Xia Hedun from Tianwu Men moved in to rescue the soldiers and came to seek revenge on me again. The person who knew that David came with Ye Shengu was also Xia Hedun, the sect master of Tianwu sect. At this moment, he was the only one who wanted Ye Shengu to hand over. Humph, this guy who doesn't know whether to live or die, wait for me to go out and kill him, and dare to make trouble in my Yashin Valley. Su Changshen's face turned cold. At that time, he let that Xia Hedun go, but he didn't expect that this guy would dare to come to the door. Su Changshen's ability to kill Xia Hedun was only a matter of hand. Several other elders did not know the inside information, but since the other party found trouble at the door of the house, they, as elders, were also angry. "Let's go out and take a look first, don't rush to do it until you have to, you just used up too much energy, and you haven't recovered yet," David persuaded Su Chongsheng. Just in order to resist the evil spirit tornado, Su Chongsheng and his elders consumed a lot of energy, and they have not recovered yet. If they really fight, they will definitely suffer. Everything is at the command of the owner of the valley. Now that David is the owner of the valley, of course Su Chongsheng has to listen to David. David walked out of Yashin Valley with a few elders, and at this moment in Taniguchi, dozens of Yashin Valley warriors showed their weapons and stared at the people in front of them. On the opposite side, hundreds of people from Tianwu Men and Tianluo Pavilion led by Xia Hedun and Ni Sideo surrounded the entire Taniguchi. After seeing David coming out with several elders of Ye Shengu, whether it was Xia Hedun or Ni Sideo, they all stared at David, wishing to slash David with 1,000 cuts. After all, they must avenge the revenge of killing children and killing disciples. "Xia Hedun, I let you go that day, but you dare to bring people to my Yashin Valley to run wild. Do you think my Yaishan Valley is easy to bully? Su Chongsheng took a step forward and scolded Xiahou angrily. Elder, why bother talking nonsense to them, dare to come to Yaishan Valley to make trouble, kill. The third elder in a black robe had a hot temper, and a strong murderous aura emanated from his body. Several elders were in the realm of Wuzong. Although Xiahou himself was also a Wuzong, compared with several Yaishengu elders, his strength was still much inferior. At this time, seeing the anger of the third elder, Xiahou was shocked. However, looking at Ni Sidao next to him, Xiahou's expression stabilized, and then he looked at Su Chongsheng and said, Elder Su, this David killed my son, I have to avenge this revenge, and I am not looking for trouble with your Medicine God Valley. As long as you hand over David, we will leave immediately, and I can give Shengu 1,000 years of medicinal materials as an apology. Chapter 799. As a last resort, Xiahou did not want to follow Yaishengu to enmity. You have the heart to die. Our Yaishengu will not hand people over to you. I will give you two choices now, either take people away or die here. Su Chongsheng had a cold expression on his face, and it seemed that there was no room for negotiation. Xiahou was choked and speechless. Your Medicine God Valley is really arrogant, doesn't it take our other sects into consideration? When Ni Sidao saw Su Changshen's arrogant appearance, his eyes narrowed slightly. Su Chongsheng looked at Ni Sidao, frowning slightly, who are you? Is this Xiahou's helper? This is Ni Sidao, the pavilion master of Tianluo Pavilion. The Ningyu that David killed was the most proud disciple of Pavilion Lord Ni. Today Pavilion Lord Ni also came to seek revenge on David. Xiahou pointed to Ni Sidao and said. Hearing the three words Tianluo Pavilion, it was obvious that Su Chongsheng and several other elders changed their expressions slightly. Ni Sidao is famous for his Taoism, and he uses various techniques that are strange and unpredictable. Ni Sidao can fight with the power of heaven and earth with the help of various instruments, magic circles, and even spells, while martial artists are different. They only rely on their own strength, even if it is Wuzong, and he is only condensing his energy and using his energy to fight. Therefore, there is an essential difference between masters of cultivation and martial artists. Many martial artists are reluctant to provoke warlocks and Taoists. Su Chongsheng and the other elders, although they are all in the realm of Wuzong, they don't know anything about magic. I'm afraid it is the simplest psychedelic formation that Ni Sidao displays. It is difficult for them to rush out. After the name, Su Chongsheng and several other elders changed their expressions. Gate Master Ni, we are deeply sorry for David's killing of your apprentice, and we are deeply sorry for your apprenticeship. If you need any compensation, you can ask for it. We can also give Master Ni 10 Huiwen pills as the most compensation. Now David is the master of my Medicine God Valley. If you insist on killing him, our Medicine God Valley can only go out in full force and swear to protect our Valley Master. Su Chongsheng looked at Ni Sidao and said very politely. But Su Changshen's words left Xiahou and Ni Sidao stunned. Especially Xiahou, his heart trembled. The conditions Su Chongsheng gave were too generous. He even took out 10 Huiwen Dan. If this Ni Sidao nodded, only Tianwu men would be left. Don't try to take revenge on David. Elder Su, you don't lie here. How could this David be the owner of your Medicine God Valley? Don't think that saying this will make us stop and kill for our lives. This is the unchanging truth of Hengwu. He killed me. Son, if you kill Pavilion Master Ni's most proud disciple, of course you have to pay for your life. After Xiahou finished speaking, he looked at Ni Sidao and said, Ge Master Ni, don't believe what they say, this David is just a hairy boy, how could he be the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley? It's just nonsense, I think they are just trying to separate our two families. And then destroy them one by one. Ni Sidao didn't say anything, but looked at Su Chongsheng stubbornly, and then slowly said, I don't care who this David is, he must die, if you don't want Yaoshengu to bleed into a river and lose both sides, then hand over the person. I will never make it difficult for you Yaoshan Valley. Nisidao didn't believe Su Changshen's words. How could David become the valley master of medicine god? The strength of these elders in front of them is much higher than that of David. Will they listen to David's dispatch? It's not possible at all. Pavilion Ni, if you don't believe it, then we can only fish to death. Su Chongsheng said it, and glanced at the second elder beside him. The elder took out something from his cuff, and then suddenly threw it into the sky, and a dazzling fireworks burst. Chapter 800. Immediately afterwards, I heard the sound of chaotic footsteps in the Medicine God Valley. Many people rushed out of the valley, and some people in the valley retreated towards the depths of the Medicine God Valley. Nisidao's face was ugly. He didn't expect that this Medicine God Valley actually planned to break the net for a David. For a time, the atmosphere became very depressing, and both sides pressed their hands on their weapons, ready to strike at any time. The war is about to break out, and this battle will definitely be bloodshed, and even those ordinary people in Yaoshan Valley will be implicated. David took a step forward slowly. Aren't you just looking for revenge on me? Now I'll give you a chance to fight alone with me. If you win, you'll either kill or slash. Just listen and respect. David didn't want to let Yaoshengu lose their lives because of himself. Although they really fought, their strength was stronger, but casualties were inevitable. Valley Lord. Su Chongsheng was nervous when he saw that David was going to fight alone with the opponent. You must know that 2 days ago, David was not even an opponent of Xiahou, so how could he follow them to fight alone? Valley Lord. The other hurried elders also planned to persuade David not to stand up. David waved his hand and made several elders shut their mouths. When Xiahou and Nisidao saw this, their brows furrowed deeply. It seemed that David really looked like the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley. If David's current identity is really the Valley Master of Medicine God Valley, if the two of them want to kill David, they will have to weigh it. However, David took the initiative to stand up at the scene and wanted to follow them to fight alone, which was just an opportunity. Pavilion Ni, the matter of beheading David will be left to you. Although I can easily kill him, Pavilion Lord Ni is here, so I won't be embarrassed. Xiahou complimented Nisidao. Yet. Nisidao nodded, his face full of confidence. David couldn't even deal with that Xiahou, and he was no match for him. Nisidao took a step forward. Boy, I admire your courage. When I make a move, I will make your death a little more enjoyable. Seeing Nisidao fighting, Su Chongsheng looked at David nervously. Gu Master, this Nisidao is a master of Taoism, even I don't dare to confront him head-on, you must be careful. Don't worry, I have my own measure. David smiled slightly. Nisidao is known as a master of Taoism, but David is not afraid at all. David cultivates immortal methods, which can be matched by people like Nisidao, and David has a condensed heart to protect his body. It is to gather the power of heaven and earth, and David also took the opportunity to absorb energy and improve his strength. David looked at Nisi and said, there are too many people here. In order to avoid hurting innocent people, how about we change the place? Often this technique is relative, it is earth-shattering, powerful, and will spread far away. Okay, let's fight at the top of the mountain. After Nisidao finished speaking, he was like a wild geese, floating towards the top of the mountain. David stepped out in one step, his figure disappeared in a flash, and he also walked towards the top of the mountain. Su Chongsheng followed the hurried elders in a hurry, and Xiahou also brought a few masters to the top of the mountain. Soon, at the top of the mountain, David and Nisidao stood opposite each other. Nisidao's mottled face had a bit of coldness, and 2 rays of light shot out from his deep pupils. A ray of divine consciousness shrouded David. Nisidao was investigating David's strength. David dared to challenge himself, and dared to stand up and fight alone. Nisideo wondered if David was hiding his strength. Otherwise, with the strength of David, the great master, and follow him to fight alone, wouldn't it be hitting the stone with the egg?